Happy game day. It's 49ers Cowboys prediction time, and we have some more time to pass today since this is Sunday night football. Exciting slate of games before then. In the afternoon, Seattle is going to play Buffalo. If the Bills, who are favored, do beat the Seahawks, then the 49ers will have a chance to leapfrog their way from last place to first place in the NFC West with a win over Dallas tonight. So the prediction is going to be coming up. First, the update. Promised the CMC one, but for tonight, both Deebo Samuel and George Kittle will be playing. Samuel was hospitalized for 2 nights with pneumonia on Sunday and Monday, but he was back out at practice on Thursday and Friday. Looked healthy and sounded healthy. Talked to him in the locker room. Now Deebo Samuel is going to play against the Cowboys tonight. So people were trying to rule him out earlier this week. They were being premature. Samuel's a professional athlete, young man who I think can recover from illnesses quickly, and that's exactly what we saw. George Kittle had a foot sprain. That's what limited him a little bit at practice this week. He wasn't a participant on Wednesday, but he was back like Deebo Samuel on Thursday and Friday. Remember, Kittle on his birthday last year scored 3 touchdowns against the Cowboys, and I think that it was always likely, very likely, that he was going to play this week after he put up the Instagram post with several pictures, the last of which being a picture of former 49ers linebacker Gary Plummer. Remember the shirt Gary Plummer wore pregame warmups against the Cowboys? He only showed it during pregame warmups before he was out on the field. But he wore it during the game against Dallas under his uniform in the 1990s. Well, George Kittle wore a replica of that shirt last year, and he showed it to the crowd, and he got fined about $18,000. So Kittle, again, might be planning to wear that Gary Plummer shirt. I don't know if he'll show it this time. The fine would probably be greater. Did you guys hear about the fines, by the way, given to both Trent Williams and Brian Cook, the Chiefs defensive back? They both hit it. I can't even say punch because they both had helmets on, but they both took swings at each other. Cook first, Williams second. Cook got fined about $8,000. Williams was fined more. He was fined $11,000. I believe that it's actually based on player's salary. There's like Williams' fine was Cook's fine was 8,000 something and 64 cents, which seemed like a really arbitrary amount. So was the Williams fine that was greater. But I do believe that it's a percentage of salary, and that's why the calculation comes down to literal cents. But 49ers fans were up in arms that Trent Williams got fined more, even though he didn't start it. At the end of the day, I think that swings involving helmets are not the smartest thing to do in the world because the swing is not going to do much damage because the guy's got a helmet on to the other person. You're obviously trying to fight the other person. What it can damage is your own hand. There have been instances where there have been swings on a football field, and one of those swings broke somebody's hand. So you got to be careful. Thankfully, both guys in that situation are okay, and I think their bank accounts will be fine too, especially Trent Williams. I don't think that $11,000 is that big of a deal to him. Anyway, on to the Christian McCaffrey news. He's expected for a bonus practice during the 49ers bye week. Typically, what the 49ers do, they're going to play the Cowboys tonight, then the bye week will commence. So they're going to come back in tomorrow for post-game treatment, all that. Kyle Shanahan's going to do his conference call. Then people leave for the bye week. And typically, they're going to be back on the Monday of the following week to run the bonus practice. That's what the 49ers have done in the past. Players' Day off Tuesday, November 5th. That also is the trade deadline. And then on Wednesday, November 6th, is the first practice for the 49ers as they prepare to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Monday, November 4th is when we may see Christian McCaffrey back out on the practice field. That's what Ian Rappaport reported today. That's typically how it's worked. They would have to open the practice window for Christian McCaffrey, who is currently on injured reserve. They then would have up to 3 weeks before they have to activate him to the 53-man roster. He can practice without taking a 53-man roster spot for 3 weeks, but he wouldn't be able to play games until they activated him to the 53-man roster. I think in all likelihood, we see Christian McCaffrey practice window opened on November 4th, and then if everything goes well, activated on November 9th ahead of the November 10th game against Tampa. So here's the big picture. The 49ers are on the mend right now. Debo and Kittle both playing tonight. That helps big time for the 49ers. And then Christian McCaffrey expected to return soon. However, before we start talking about McCaffrey's return in any further detail, or before we even start talking about the trade deadline, because I know everybody wants to put the cart in front of the horse, but that's not how this works. The 49ers have to beat the Cowboys tonight first. This is a very important game for them. They're going to be in last place in the NFC West. They'll remain there if they lose this football game. But as I just said a couple minutes ago, they can be in first place contingent on the Buffalo-Seattle outcome, which is this afternoon before the 49ers play, if they beat the Cowboys. So just in terms of the NFC West standings, there's a big delta here. I know we're a little bit before the halfway point, so it's not like we're in critical time of the season yet, but 4-4 with some feel-good momentum heading into the bye week certainly sounds a lot more appealing to the 49ers than 3-5 coming off of consecutive losses to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys. So somehow, some way, if the 49ers can scratch and claw their way to a victory tonight, they're actually going to be in really, really good position, assuming they could also stay healthy during this football game. Obviously, unforeseen stuff can happen on the injury front at any time for any team, and the 49ers do want to avoid that. But assuming they can do that, then getting the win tonight can put them on a really, really good track for the back half of the season. Wrote about all that kind of stuff a lot this week. This is up on the San Francisco Standard first. These are our predictions. If you want to take a look at the predictions piece, and this is obviously going to be a video which reveals my prediction, but if you ever want it early, you can go to the Standard's predictions. And then I also talked about the 49ers 5 fixes, the 5 things that they have to fix so that they turn this ship around for good. They don't necessarily have to execute all 5 of these things in the game tonight because I don't think they're significantly better than the Dallas Cowboys. They definitely have to execute number 4. Just don't lose on special teams because that's where Dallas is strong. But I'm thinking big picture for the 49ers. I talk strategy. That's what this channel is all about. We talk strategy. We talk what can the 49ers do? Why are the 49ers doing this? And when we do discuss strategy, we have to consider the fact that the Seahawks are coming on November 17th. The Tampa Bay game on the 10th, the week before, that's not going to be easy. There's going to be the double road trip, right? One to Green Bay, one to Buffalo, Thanksgiving in between. Going to be games against the Bears and then the Rams on a short week on Thursday night in December. There's going to be the season finale against the Arizona Cardinals. And, of course, that game right before New Year's against the Detroit Lions. There's a lot of tests coming up for the 49ers over the back half of the season. The fireworks are just getting started with this game against the Cowboys tonight. And given that brutal schedule down the back half, the 49ers need to get their 5 weaknesses that I listed here, that they need to execute the 5 fixes that we listed up on the San Francisco Standard, not just for tonight, but they need to consistently start playing good football over the back half of this season. So those 5 fixes, and again, it's up on the screen. Here you go. 1, reestablish the short passing game, continue improving the run defense, tighten the screws of the pass defense, just don't lose on special teams, and deliver in short yardage run situations. I'm most curious about this tonight because Christian McCaffrey is not going to be back. Reestablish the short passing game. The 49ers have attempted only 11 screen passes and they only have 45 yards on screen passes this season. Those are the lowest numbers in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, for comparison, has 35 screen pass attempts. So the 49ers, and he's not even number 1 in the league. The 49ers, there are teams that are nearly 4x the amount of San Francisco as far as screen pass attempts. Brock Purdy has the highest average depth of target in the league. So he's throwing the ball far, highest percentage of intermediate throws in his career. I mean, that's up to like 33% for Brock Purdy. 33% of his throws are going between 10 and 19 yards in that little middle portion of the field. As a rookie, it was only 19%. It went from 19% as a rookie in 2022 to 26% as a second-year QB in 2023 to 33% this year. So he's pushing the ball further downfield with greater regularity, but he's, tied to that is the fact that Brock Purdy is not throwing the short passes. And I think some of that schematic, some of that might be a trust issue where Christian McCaffrey is not on the field. Jordan Mason's only been targeted 12 times all season. And before McCaffrey comes back, I do wonder if the 49ers have a bigger emphasis on trying to get that short pass out, maybe to Jordan Mason, maybe to Deebo Samuel, if they trust him more in the pass game, because I do think that's a big key for continual top efficiency for the 49ers offense. With a lot of teams bringing aggressive pressure against San Francisco to take advantage of their protection scheme, the 49ers need better answers through Kyle Shanahan's play calls early in progressions on hot routes. It can't sometimes be a 15-yard throw to the X wide receiver on the opposite side of the blitz. Sometimes it has to be the tight end or the running back, a blitz beater that sits down much earlier in a route so that Brock Purdy can get rid of the football, since he's going to have less than 2 seconds to throw on some of these unblocked pressures. That's how the 49ers offense can win. Those are the types of adjustments that Kyle Shanahan has successfully made over the past. I've talked about this game against the Dallas Cowboys being like when the 49ers played the Rams in week 10 of 2021. They were struggling at that time. They're 3-5. They're facing a really good pass rush. Now, I'm not saying Dallas is a world beater. This is a defense that's ranked in the 20s. It's not the eventual Super Bowl champion Rams of 2021. But I do see a return to the short passing game, at least a reintegration of that short passing game into a portion of the 49ers offense. I do see that as necessary for the 49ers to be the balanced, sustainable attack they need to be moving forward. The most staggering stat is that they only have one pass caught behind the line of scrimmage that's turned into an explosive play this year. That had been a forte of the 49ers for years. Over 6 seasons entering this one, they had 70 such passes and only one this season. So that does have to change. They can continue improving the run defense. This graphic that I'm putting up on the screen is an illustration of where I think the 49ers need to improve. You want to move your way up. That's going to signify better run defense the higher up your logo is on this graph. If by the end of the season, the 49ers are in this cluster with Kansas City, Green Bay, Miami, Houston, I think Buffalo's logos hidden in there, they're going to be fine. I think they got to get out of the below average and into the slightly above average when it comes to run defense. So we'll see how they do. Meanwhile, the team that they're playing tonight, the Cowboys, they're the worst run defense in the league. So 49ers have an opportunity on that front. Talk about tightening the screws of the pass defense. Well, the 49ers are getting up 9.6 yards per attempt to the middle third of the field, ranks number 26 in the league. Over the past 5 seasons, the 49ers have not ranked worse than number 5. So they've gone from 5 to 26. So, let me pop open the roster. I think that big parts of these struggles lie in some of the injuries and some of the replacement players that the 49ers have had to thrust into the lineup. Zooming in on the defense, middle of the field, right? Devondre Campbell, middle of the field, linebacker. There is no Dre Greenlaw right now. They expect him back in a few weeks. Safety position, no more Tashawn Gibson. Obviously, Talanoa Hufanga's hurt. Jair Brown's got to be better in coverage. And Malik Mustafa's a rookie. There have been some missed tackles. Hasn't been all perfect for Malik, but he's got a ton of potential, and I think he's already impressing them. He's only going to get better. What they did this week is they called up Adrian Amos, the veteran 31-year-old safety who played for both Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans last year, who's on both the Jets and Texans. So that's interesting to me because in case something happens here to Brown or Mustafa, they've got a veteran backstop like Amos You can compare it to Sean Gibson's situation from a couple years ago. Veteran inserted into the roster, and then boom, all of a sudden he has a chance to play. We'll see if that ends up being the case for Amos. But right now, their guys are Jair Brown and Mustafa, with Adrian Amos probably giving San Francisco some special teams help. Anyway, you've got to be better at safety, and then you've got to be better at that second linebacker position. It's tough because, if talent grew on trees to cover from the linebacker position, I'm sure the 49ers would have tried to acquire it, but it doesn't. So they're having to play a fill-in player. And until Dre Greenlaw comes back, and we don't know what kind of shape he's going to be coming off the Achilles, that might be a weakness for the 49ers. But they are trying to tighten the screws of the pass defense. Now, the good news for the 49ers is that they have this man named Diamar Lenor. And especially today against the Dallas Cowboys, Diamar Lenor is going to be a very, very important piece. He was sick on Friday. It would surprise me if he didn't play. It's questionable because he missed practice. Lenor and Charvarius Ward, have essentially flipped spots statistically. Take a look at that. Isn't that amazing? You have Lenor this is yards allowed per cover snap. So you want these numbers to be lower. Last year, Lenor was 1.07 and Charvarius Ward was 0.83. So Ward was the better of the two. Look at this. Lenor has improved to 0.88 and Ward has regressed to 1.07. So they've essentially flipped spots there. Passer rating allowed into a cornerback's coverage. You also want this to be lower. Last year, Lenor was 86.9. This year is 66.7. Ward last year was 63.7, has regressed to 90.2. So Lenor is the 49ers cornerback 1 now. And he also happens to move from the outside to the inside. I talked about this yesterday, went to a cool spot in San Francisco where I did our 49ers Cowboys matchup of the game. Let's have a watch.
All right, 49ers Cowboys matchup of the game. You guys know with each one of these, try to show you a cool spot of San Francisco. And this is the rooftop garden of the Fairmont Hotel. Got the city skyline behind me. I thought it was decent lighting, so we can just go from here. It's going to be Diamar Lenor against CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee has lined up in the slot 164 times and outside 161 times. So that's versatility that essentially mirrors that of Diamar Lenor, who's on the outside and on the inside. And, to add to the intrigue here, Diamar has morphed into the 49ers' #1 cornerback. The stats have essentially flip-flopped with Charvarius Ward from last year. Lenor was solid last year, but he wasn't great. This year's given up a rating of like 66 into his coverage. He's great. And Ward has dropped off a bit. I know that Charvarius has been playing through some injuries, but Lenor is essentially the 49ers' cornerback #1. And that's fitting because the way that CeeDee Lamb lines up inside and outside equal amounts of times, that means Diamar Lenor is going to have to be the one following him around. So super, super impressive stuff from the 49ers corner. He's going to have to go up against a big money receiver tomorrow. Now remember, Diamar Lenor has been sick. He had an illness that kept him out of practice for the 49ers on Friday. So he's technically questionable. But I'm going to go out and assume that he's going to be okay in time to play in this game on Sunday. Better to be sick on Friday than to wake up sick on Sunday morning. And that obviously happened to Deebo Samuel last week. So a couple players questionable due to illnesses, but one is recovering from the illness last week. He was hospitalized in Deebo Samuel, and he has practiced on Thursday and Friday. Another one got sick on Friday, so he didn't practice. That's Diamar Lenor. But he's going to have a big-time matchup with CeeDee Lamb. Now, Diamar Lenor also mentioned something about Brock Purdy. And, Lenor is going to be faced off not just against CeeDee Lamb, but also against the Dallas Cowboys' $60 million quarterback, Dak Prescott. Well, when he was told that Dak is making $60 million a year, Diamar Lenor had a very, very good answer.
That's a big contract for him. I like that. I love that for him. But I practice against a $60 million quarterback too.
He just hasn't been paid like that.
Yeah, he just ain't been paid yet. But he's gonna break the bank.
That's that. Diamar Lenor talking about Brock Purdy breaking the bank. So we get to see a $60 million quarterback on the field at Levi's tonight, and somebody who's going to be a $60+ million quarterback on the field as well, but isn't quite there yet. That's Brock Purdy, not eligible for the new contract until after the regular season this year. The 49ers can technically pay him before the playoffs if Brock Purdy agrees to a deal, obviously. Takes two to tango in that situation. Now, obviously, I recorded that last night, so it's now certain Deebo Samuel is going to play, and I would assume that Diamar Lenor is going to be ready to go as well. I'll keep you updated in case there are any developments on that front tonight. But anyway, that went hand in hand with this right here, the Diamar Lenor stats. CeeDee Lamb, 164 snaps in the slot this year, 161 outside. He's going to be in both spots, and the versatility of somebody like Diamar Lenor, that's really hard to do, by the way. You don't see a lot of these outside cornerbacks be able to do that. It started with Jalen Ramsey in 2020 with the Rams under Brandon Staley, who's now on the 49ers staff. Staley was the defensive coordinator. Jalen Ramsey would play outside, and then he'd move inside with the best receivers because the best guys are lining up everywhere now, the best wideouts, right? And I think that that's the trend that we're going to see on the defensive side of the ball too. The best cornerbacks are going to be able to follow the best receivers, lining up inside and outside. And we're going to see Lenore against CeeDee Lamb plenty of times in this game. Hopefully not too much for the 49ers' sake. Fred Warner against CeeDee Lamb, although he has successfully done it in the past. Remember that playoff game a couple years ago? Lamb up the seam and Warner just trailed him the whole way, blanketed him. One of the more impressive coverage exhibitions that you'll ever see from a linebacker. But in general, you'd still rather have a DB on CeeDee Lamb than a linebacker, even if that linebacker is an alien like Fred Warner. Anyway, 49ers, Cowboys prediction. Again, it's up on the standard right here. Get that up on the screen. I went through the keys, the things the 49ers have to fix as a football team. And I do think that they have a track record of executing with their backs up against the wall. They are, over the past 3 years, a 500 team before the bye week. And they're about a 800 team, like 80% winning percentage, about 78, 79% after the bye week. The trick here is that this game does not come after the bye week. So the 49ers have to take that post-bye energy and find a way to deliver it before that bye actually hits. So that's the key. Do I think that they'll do it? I don't think that they're going to be perfect tonight, but I don't think they have to be perfect tonight. We've talked about Dallas's struggles. I said, well, the 49ers are having trouble defending the middle third passes. Well, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are one of the 5 least efficient offenses attacking the middle of the field. The Cowboys struggle to run the ball all too consistently. And the 49ers, well, the run defense needs to get better. So that lines up as well. Dallas won't have Micah Parsons. The defense has not been playing at a very high level. And even when it was last year, the 49ers lit them up. What was it? It was a 40-point game, right? San Francisco just set Dallas on fire last year. That was with Parsons. New defensive coordinators, Mike Zimmer. Dan Quinn's now in Washington. He's the head coach with Adam Peters over there. Kyle Shanahan and Zimmer have faced each other 7 times. Goes back to when they were both coordinators. Zimmer, the Cincinnati Bengals DC in 2008. Kyle Shanahan was the Houston Texans offensive coordinator that year. Shanahan's 4-3 against Zimmer. This is not a Jim Schwartz or a Steve Spagnuolo kind of situation. Maybe even a Brian Flores kind of situation for Kyle Shanahan. This is a coordinator against whom he's had some success, including in the most recent meetings. Minnesota, the 49ers beat him twice in 2021, and then in the before then in the 2019 season playoffs. The 49ers entire staff, or most of it, a lot of the staff, I know Robert Saleh, those guys, they were very, very sick. Like everybody was really sick during that game in 2019, January 2020. And that was hell for the 49ers. Just remember that week, everybody's like, oh, God, we're sick. We're going to have to find a way to hammer through this. And they won 27-10. Anyway, that was the staff matchup against Mike Zimmer's Minnesota Vikings. And Shanahan has obviously had the best of him as of late. So I think that this lines up well for the 49ers multiple ways, but especially their track record. When their backs are up against the wall, they typically have done a good job. Do they absolutely have to win tonight? Actually not, but it would make their life a whole lot easier if they were able to get the win against Dallas. My prediction is the 49ers 31 and the Cowboys 20. You can go ahead and check out the scores that Tim Kawakami predicted, and you could, I guess, you see the score right here on the screen, but you could also see Tim's, which is 24-20, up on the San Francisco Standard. That's what it looks like. Our 5 fast predictions every week. Make sure you also take a look at the 49ers 5 fixes that they need to make. I talked about those fixes, and then earlier in the week, let's find the link to it, delved extensively into special teams. Cowboys might be get-well medicine for the 49ers like the Rams were in 2021 and 2022, but if the 49ers don't handle special teams in this game, that can turn really, really quickly. That's it from me. I don't know if I want to answer questions this morning because I'm hungry. I'll put up 49ers Q&A just to see here really quickly. See how many of you we got watching. Oh, good. We got a nice crowd. I appreciate that. So if you have any good questions, toss them in there. I'll hold off on the breakfast burrito for just a few minutes. Yes, the Cowboys are coming off a bye week. That's the one thing that made me think that, okay, this might be a little bit closer than the 11 points, but I think the 49ers offense is ready for a big game because they've got their receivers in place. I know they don't have Brandon Ayuk, but they've had a week to prepare without Brandon Ayuk. It's not going to be a midstream adjustment. So, you know, maybe it is a little bit tighter because Dallas is rested coming off the bye. It's definitely a danger zone kind of situation for the 49ers in that regard. But they're playing so many of these teams coming off their bye weeks. If that's going to be the reason that the 49ers lose, you might as well pack it up right now because this is not the first nor the last time that this is happening this year. Kansas City was coming off their bye. I believe both Green Bay and Buffalo, or at least one of those two, is going to be coming off their bye. And then I think Seattle later in the season is going to be coming off their bye before playing the 49ers. So the cards are stacked against the 49ers in terms of net rest differential, but it is what it is. They're just going to have to muscle up and try to fight through this and get as many wins as possible. Has Brandon Ayuk scheduled his surgery? No, he has not. You have to wait about 2 weeks for the swelling to go down with these ACL tears before you can formally schedule the surgery. Resend the San Francisco Standard link. All right, hold on. I could send I want to send you guys the email sign up. And unfortunately, I don't have that link right in front of me. I'm going to send you a link. You could sign up in general to the Standard through this article that I'm putting up onto the comment section. So if you're watching on Twitter, then you're going to have to go to YouTube. But I just posted it into the comment section. There it is. It's going to be at the bottom of the screen. I think that you can't click on it if it's on the screen, but hopefully you can access it somehow, some way. Have I seen Cowing and Ricky Pearsall practice this week? Yes, I have. I was even able to interview Jacob Cowing. Why don't we take a look at that? Have a little listen to Jacob Cowing.
Jacob Cowing here. It was a really interesting game on Sunday, I thought, for the receivers. Obviously not for a good reason because guys went down, but you and Ricky both had to slide into bigger roles than you expected. How difficult was that just on the fly?
I think in that moment, throughout training camp, even through OTAs and stuff like that, the first thing that they told us as rookies coming in is to always be ready when your opportunity, your number's called. So I think just leading up until when I first got here, up until that moment, I was just training myself to get ready when my number's called, and to not shy away, and to also just continue to go out there and to just play the game that I've been playing ever since 8 years old. So just not try to think too much about it, just go out there and have some fun.
My favorite stat about you was coming out of the combine, you were the fastest in the first 5 yards of the 40 of any receiver this past year. You hit something like 17, 18 miles per hour, I think. That was right on display on that little tunnel screen, that first catch. Is that the type of play that you really like to run, just to showcase that burst off the line?
For me, I mean, yes and no. For me, I like the deep threat kind of thing, but also screens too. I think it's a good thing to add to my game, so that teams can't really game plan for what I'm about to do, either deep wise or anything like that. So, screens, stuff like that. That's just something when I get the ball in my hands, I like to just try and make something out of it and try and get as many yards and even try and score a touchdown every time I get the ball in my hands.
So later in the game, the second catch, we saw the double move. Does a screen like that, you think, help you set you up for deeper plays, just because you showcase that versatility? You could catch the ball short, but you can also go a little bit further downfield.
I think it was a good play call, honestly, for the defense that the Chiefs put out there on that down. And I think it was just great execution on all levels, from the O-line, from the quarterback, from running backs, and the other receivers in their own routes. I think it was just good execution across the board that came out with a good result, and a big catch. And I was very fortunate that my number was called.
How good was it to see Ricky in the huddle with you on Sunday?
It was a great feeling. All the adversity, like I said before in past interviews, just all the adversity that has been thrown at him. It's a lot for one human to deal with. Just to see him overcome all that, still push and still overcome everything and still get on that field, make catches, get open, create separation. It shows a lot about who he is as a person, and that's a great guy to have.
You're a few weeks into this now. With Kyle's offense is obviously an intricate thing. He asks a lot out of the receivers. You need to know every single one of the positions. How difficult has it been to get integrated into this system, and how do you think it's going in the larger scale of things?
Yeah, in the beginning, I would say definitely it was a struggle for sure. Learning everything, just kind of adapting to that offense. And over time, ever since I got here and up until now, it's definitely getting better week in and week out. So I'm just got to continue to stay in my playbook, continue to do the things I've been doing for the plays that stick to me, and eventually it'll come.
All right, that's Jacob Cowing. I think that's a good way to end the 49ers Cowboys prediction. So Debo and Kittle both playing. McCaffrey expected back. Bonus practice to wrap up that bye week. Monday, November 4th, I would guess, would be that date at practice for Christian McCaffrey. And my prediction, which you can find up on the San Francisco Standard, is 49ers 31, Cowboys 20. Everybody, thanks for watching. Enjoy the games today. Got a nice slate coming up in about 28 minutes. It's 9:32. My routine, I'm going to go to the Bay. I'm going to get a swim in. I'm going to get a good breakfast burrito. Maybe we got some breakfast burrito content coming soon. I'm going to a new spot today. So breakfast burrito time, swim time, drive down to Santa Clara, and 49ers Cowboys coming up on Sunday Night Football. Talk to everybody soon.